When I was 18, I got hit by a car and broke my collarbone very close to the shoulder, and then I hiked across Spain a few months later, and then I joined the rowing team, which, yes, was idiotic, but I was 19. And so after a year, I had a 3/4 inch shorter spine from lifting too much weight on a shoulder that wasn't ready to go, because even though I did go to the doctor, they didn't prescribe me physical therapy. They said to live your life as normal, so I did. Needless to say, this didn't go well, and I had shoulder problems that still haunt me to this day, and I had medical documentation on why I needed a standing desk at my job, and my manager at my job also had back issues and was very empathetic and encouraged me to go to HR. And then I went to HR. They took one look at me as a skinny 20-year-old and said, you don't need accommodations, even though I had the paperwork in my hand. And I just didn't know enough to know how illegal that was at that time. And I have a feeling this is a much more common experience than we want to acknowledge. Some of the most abused and neglected workers are people with disabilities. And a lot of them, people have no idea what have disabilities. So I'm so sorry that this happened to you about your ADA accommodations being denied. It is totally illegal. I'm not an employment lawyer or a disability expert by any means. I would encourage you at the very least to file the EEOC, because that is a protected class. It's free for you to file. I'm pretty sure you don't need a lawyer, though it's always best to have one. It is so ridiculous that this extra amount of energy is asked of you, because around 50% of ADA accommodations are free. They are free. They do not take extra costs, and the ones that do cost very minimal and are like a one-time thing, like a standing desk. I have even seen this be a problem with my clients in Europe and the UK where they do have more protections than we do, but people still try to get around this, and it's just such blatant ableism. And I find it especially interesting in places like Europe and the UK that actually have systems in place to pay people more when they live with disabilities. Like the UK, from my very limited understanding, I only moved there in September, has pretty substantial, compared to the US, support for people who, even if you have like severe ADHD, you can get a disability stipend. And it's quite a controversy in their politics from what I'm observing. And what's interesting to me is not that I think that ADHD should be belittled in any way at all, but the question I always ask as an IO is, isn't it interesting how some places have set up systems to support disabled people, which I think is a good thing, but at what point do we ask, why is a system putting the responsibility on taxpayers and not organizations to not have environments that are so unlivable for such a large part of the organization, such a large part of the population, such as people with ADHD? Because ADHD accommodations very rarely cost money. They are hard because they're not normalized in our society. And I don't know that this person has ADHD. You have disclosed on here publicly, so I'm not outing you that you're autistic. Similarly, a lot of autistic accommodations do not cost money. I've been a manager of autistic people. They were things like send the agenda in advance, honor whenever possible the blocked focus time on their calendar, give clear instructions. I mean, that cost zero money and was actually very little effort as a manager, and that same accommodation benefited my neurotypical employees as well. And that is what I think a lot of people miss, is that very often accommodations are just good management practice for everyone. And this applies to my work on class as well. Interventions in schools to help first-generation students also benefit continuing generation students. It is not either or, it is not pie. Whatever we allow for the marginalized among us harms us as well, though to not as severe of a degree, but it does come back to haunt us.